Hello guys, I hope you're doing well. Today I was reading a report on the Forbes, which is a pro-lockdown website. The title of the report says, the world needs equivalent of pandemic lockdown every 2 years to meet Paris carbon emission goals. The dramatic drop in global carbon emissions seen during the early days of the pandemic and global shutdowns would need to be matched every 2 years for the rest of the decade, that means till 2030, in order to meet the goals outlined in the Paris Climate Agreement, according to a new study, though the authors do not recommend that the world rely on lockdowns to help battle climate change. So, since the beginning of the corona crisis, some governments relied heavily on lockdowns, and some people argued, including myself, that the lockdowns have a lot of negative consequences on our mental health, psychological health, because our health is not only physical, it's a package. If you're physically not okay, that means you're ill. But also when you are psychologically not well, that means you're also ill. So these governments, they were very busy trying to protect us from the virus by imposing harsh lockdowns in different countries in Europe and in North America. At the same time, they were ignoring our psychological health. And for example, in my case, I believe that during this lockdown season, my mental health has deteriorated somehow. And if I get the virus now, my immune system would be in its worst shape, let's say. So battling the virus for me would be maybe more difficult because of the lockdowns that the governments imposed without our consent, because their narrative, or the scientists that they are listening to, and the scientists are telling them that we need more lockdowns. But when other scientists say that lockdowns might not be needed, they're shutting them down. These people are losing their jobs, they're losing their positions, they're losing their certificates, and most importantly, they are being removed from social media outlets for spreading conspiracy theories. So the beginning of the pandemic, some people were saying that there would be some sort of virus or vaccination passports, and these people were called conspiracy theories. And I was one of the people who thought it won't come true. I didn't expect that COVID passports could be a thing, but as you can see, it's a thing today, and it's been promoted day and night by many media outlets. The governments are talking about it, the rich people are talking about it, and it has become true. So accusing these people of being a conspiracy theorists were unfair, the least to say. But the thing is, on my channel, for example, I didn't speak a lot about the COVID. Actually, this could be my first video about the COVID issue. I have done a lot of research, and I have read a lot of reports and watched lots of videos and listened to people from both sides, or from many sides. And I have come to my own conclusion, okay? I believe that the virus is very real, and it could be deadly to certain type of people who have chronic diseases, people who are old, and especially, even the influenza could be deadly for people who are over 70 or have chronic diseases, etc. The survival rate is not really documentable, because we are only able to document the people who contracted the virus and were tested positive, because there are many people who could have taken the virus, but they didn't test themselves because they never had any symptoms. So the number of the people who were infected from the virus could be much higher than the official numbers that we already have. So the survival rate could be much higher in all cases. However, regardless of the virus, we are still hearing every day that we need lockdowns, more lockdowns, and if we want to ease the lockdowns, there could be a third wave, despite the fact that the vaccines are now in the market and increasing number of people are getting the vaccines. But we are still talking about lockdowns, and now some, let's say, scientists or some journalists are trying to promote lockdowns in order to to decrease the carbon, to meet the goals of the climate agreement, of the Paris Climate Agreement, as it is mentioned in the Forbes, and to meet the Paris carbon emissions goals. So we moved from the COVID case because the vaccines are in the market, and now we're talking about, again, lockdowns, but for a different reason. Now we need to save the environment. So, of course, if you do a lockdown and you cut the carbon emissions, this could be a positive thing for the humanity, but at the same time, you're also inflicting a heavy, let's say, damages on the ordinary people, and you are pushing a lot of people into poverty, a lot of people into joblessness, a lot of people into unemployment, and people are declaring their bankruptcies. And I can see in my surrounding here in Berlin and in the neighborhood that I live, how many restaurants were closed, especially the ones who do not carry German passports, who are investors here, etc., etc. And who benefited from these lockdowns are very clear. The multi-billionaires benefited a lot because they had already the infrastructure ready for such crisis. Of course, I'm not saying that they were expecting it, but for example, the Amazon has the infrastructure and the money and the capabilities and everything to deliver any goods you need, and you can buy it online. But the small businesses and medium businesses they are not ready for such crisis and they don't have the infrastructure, these companies, the small companies, the people with limited finances were the biggest victims of these lockdowns. What happened is these billionaires have doubled and tripled their wealth during the pandemic. And I was talking to a friend the other day and he was like, so why you're angry if someone has 200 billion and now he has a 300 billion? What's the difference between 200 and 300 billion? Of course, financially speaking, there might not be a big difference between 200 and 300 billion. However, if you have a 200 billion and you're investing in your business and you made an extra 100 billion and you invested that extra 100 billion in buying influence, then we're talking about something dangerous. And the perfect example for this is Bill Gates. Bill Gates, this guy is not investing his money in the pharmaceutical industry or in other many sectors that I will mention later because he likes us or he wants to save our planet or this guy is a fucking businessman, and when he spends $1 in the pharmaceutical industry, he's gaining 10 in exchange. So for him, this is pure business. For example, Bill Gates is one of the biggest donors of the World Health Organization. Why is he funding the World Health Organization? And obviously, this guy is not neutral, he's politicized. So, of course, his personal opinions or his convictions or ideologies is affecting the World Health Organization or its appointments or its policies or the scientists that they have to hire. So we have to take this into consideration. And one of the aspects that Bill Gates is working on, he is spending tens of millions of dollars on media outlets. He's giving donations to media outlets. Why would a businessman like Bill Gates pay for the media outlets? Because he wants them to speak in a good way about him. He wants these media outlets to host him and to ask for his opinion about everything. Like, he's not only talking about now vaccines, he's talking about a lot of things. He's even talking about cryptocurrencies. He's talking about that we have to eat synthetic beef meat. I believe he is he's trying to develop a meat, a synthetic meat for us to eat in the next decade, and he wants us to stop eating natural meat. Of course, he's again quoting the environment. So they found this environment as an excuse for their green energy investments, because it will generate a huge amount of money for them. I'm not against the green energy, by the way. If there is any alternative for my lifestyle that I can reduce the use of the energy and go into green, I will always do that. But I'm questioning the intentions of these people. So I'm just asking you, don't be fooled if these people tell you that we're doing this because of the environment. No, for them, this is pure business and they're doing it for that. So one of the things that happened during the pandemic is a relocation of wealth from the middle class and the poor into the pockets of the rich. This is undebatable. You cannot debate about it. It's 100% proven, and you can check all the statistics and all the numbers online. Now, people like Bill Gates are investing now in media, in pharmaceutical industry, in politics. They are starting to become stronger than governments. Like Mark Zuckerberg, he's able to silence the president of the United States, which is the strongest power in the world. They're able to cancel him, to delete his accounts. Twitter is the same. So we are giving unlimited authorities to these multi-billionaires. And believe me, when I studied political science in the 101 lecture, they taught us humans are selfish by nature, and I believe in that. When you have a 10 million, you always want to make it 20 million and then 100 million, and then specify a part of that wealth that you have for buying influence and create your own empire. And this is what these multi-billionaires are doing now. They're creating their own empires, and they are like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They know everything about us. They're collecting our data. They're listening to us. If I talk about any topic now, if I say Twix 2 times, you go to Facebook and you find a Twix advertisement. They are collecting data from us. They know everything about us, and they're selling it to generate profits. So, as if this is not enough, now they want to know about our health. They want to have complete control over us. And this is not a conspiracy theory. Every time someone tells you this is a conspiracy theory, this person is naive and they don't know how these companies or how the people behind these companies function or think. Now, why do we need the COVID passport? Why are we gonna give away our private health details to the authorities? I mean, I'm not saying that we don't need vaccination. I might myself get a vaccination at some point, because if I don't get it, they will not let me to go to office. They will not let me to take a plane. They will not let me go to festivals, etc., etc. So on one hand, they're saying you have a choice whether you take it or not. But at the same time, they're banning you from a lot of activities, daily life activities, your basic rights. So it's not about the vaccination itself, but about the authority we are giving these people to have a say over our own bodies. They're telling you we will deprive you of your rights, basic human rights, if you don't take the vaccine. This is very dangerous, what's going on. And I studied the World Economic Forum's agenda till 2030. So why this report is coming now, and they're telling you in the next 10 years, what's coming after 10 years? What's going to happen in 2030? Isn't the World Economic Forum promising us the Great Reset? That the Great Reset, if you haven't heard about it, I'm sure many of you already know. The global economic system that is based on the capitalism, or the rich countries that were leading the global economy, are mostly capitalist countries. And this capitalism served these elites or the oligarchs for many decades. But now they need to reform this economic system because they want it to survive and be functional for them for many more decades. And in order to do that, they want to add some socialist aspects in the capitalism, but not in a way that you think it would serve us. Although many argue that maybe some socialist aspect could serve the people. This could be true in a true socialist countries, but in the way that they are presenting it now to inject some socialist aspects in capitalism, they're doing it through lockdowns. They are locking the people in their homes. They are closing the businesses. They are making people poor. They are impoverishing people. They are pushing people on the brink of bankruptcies. And they are telling them, you can get funding from the government. We are here to save you. What kind of a joke is that? If you have a company and you're generating, let's say, just for an argument's sake, you're generating 10,000 euro profits per month, and then the government comes and they pay you $2,000 for your rent. What can you do with that 2,000? They're just keeping you on the brink of the bankruptcy. And at the same time, they are making you dependent on them, whether on a government or on third parties. They're talking about the global basic income. So it looks so beautiful when you talk about it. But what they are really trying to do is to make as much as people from the middle class and the poor class dependent on the state finances or non-state finances that are financed by these multi-billionaires in order to keep us under control, in order to have a say over our lives, especially the political opinions and political affiliations. So when we move towards cashless society, for example, this could be beneficial for many of us. I don't mind if it's a cash or without a cash, as long as they don't have a political control over us. But I truly believe that if we go to cashless society, which I said I don't mind myself, but what's going to happen is later, if you have a certain political opinion or you're categorized as a domestic terrorist, as they're trying to do now with the Trump supporters in the United States, then they will come after your finances, they will come after your accounts, they will close it, they will block it in the system. So it's a dangerous game what these oligarchs are doing. And unfortunately myself, I don't think there is a way to stop it. And I hope those who are listening won't be angry on me. I mean, this needs a strong position, strong protest by the people. But the general public are very soft in their stance, the least to say, and they are bowing in front of these restrictions, and including people who already declared bankruptcy because their businesses have been closed here in Berlin, and they're still defending the lockdowns. In this entire thing, I am for listening to the scientists, but the politicians who are intervening in these scientific affairs are ruining the science. And for the moment, I believe that these lockdowns will continue in some shapes or forms, not in the current way that we have. And they will always try to have a control over us, over our bodies, over our datas, and over all the details of our daily lives and our political opinions. So I will also make a video about Bill Gates very soon. I'm preparing some information about him. For example, his antitrust case in the United States. He was sued by the American government. His bribing media outlets. He spent around 250 million on journalists and media outlets. His funding of the World Health Organization. He is genetically modifying mosquitoes. And he's trying to invest in geoengineering in order to control the weather. So man, he's also trying to block the sun in order to decrease the global temperature. So these guys have some personal fantasies beside their businesses, and they're trying to translate these fantasies into reality because we gave them unlimited authorities and we allowed them to do it during this pandemic. As Klaus Schwab, the executive director of the World Economic Forum, said that the pandemic represents a rare opportunity for them to reset, for a great reset. They are saying it in public and they're publishing articles about it, and they're saying in 2030 you will own nothing and you will be happy. They are saying that we will not be able to buy cars, we need to rent cars, we may not be able to buy apartments anymore, we may rent clothing, etc., etc. They're really talking about some... For me, this is horrifying, and I'm personally boiling from inside, and I know I can't do anything about it, but I'm mad and angry more because the general public are bowing in front of this reality, and most of the people who are agreeing with these draconian measures and the greatest relocation of wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich is coming from the left. Imagine that the left for decades, they were the ones who were combating the rich, and they were defending the poor and the middle class, and now they're the ones who are agreeing with these multi-billionaires. The left is dead, man, unfortunately. So, I'm Kevork Almasyan of Syriana Analysis. If you like the content of my channel, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps me when you subscribe. And if you want to support me through Patreon, it would really help me if you buy me a coffee or a coffee and the cookies. You can find the links in the description below in order for me to stay independent and bring you my honest and objective opinion about the global affairs. See you next time.